Hello and welcome. This is The Apprentice, You're Fired, and I'm Anton Savage. Well, the 4 candidates were put through their paces in interviews tonight, but do you ever wonder how the interviewers prepare?
Rubber baby buggy bumpers, let's go.
Flippin' hell, I feel like I've been bloody assaulted.
Gavin is just unreal. I hope he's not like that in real life. I hope he really was trying just to push my buttons, because in the interview I have to say, I'm sorry Gavin, you're a horrible man. It's just his facial expressions. Whatever you say, he would roll his eyes, he would do all this, all that. And you're like, what is wrong with you?
Excusez-moi.
Well, to help me dissect the interviews and make sense of tonight's show, we have a celebrity panel of Apprentice fans. First of them is from the Sunday Independent, best-selling author of Wasters, Senator Shane Ross. We also have a man who, let's be clear, begged to come back on this show. And I don't mean this show, just The Apprentice, You're Fired. I mean this specific show. Brian Dowling.
I did. I begged. I want to be here.
He'll be with us any minute now, Brian. And from Brightwater Recruitment, our resident recruitment expert, Mairead Fleming. Well, no soiree is complete without the fiery. This is how Bill provided tonight's guest.
With all that I have in mind, you don't make it. So, Will, you're fired.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Will.
Well, folks, please welcome Will McCreevy. Hi, Will. How are you? Have a seat.
How are you doing, Rose?
Will, let's get this bit out of the way first. Will, Brian, Will.
Hello.
Just yeah.
Oh, I did it.
Later, Brian.
Very good.
Well, having watched it back, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, geez, it was tough, you know, like, it's physically and mentally draining, this whole operation. But, you know, I do think, looking back, it came to I went at the right time, to be honest with you. The 2 girls are unbelievable.
You got the sense, though, watching the series, that you really, really, really wanted this job.
Yeah, I did, you know, like, I really, really wanted that job with Bill. And I think he knew that, and many people did, you know. But I suppose for me, really, looking back on it, it was the cabaret's task, really, when I was PM, losing PM. I went home and was physically ill. Just the thought of losing PM. Literally, yeah. Like, can ask any of the guys, I went up to bed and I was literally I just felt really deflated. And from then, the confidence never really got back.
We've seen so many of the people who are PMs on losing teams instantly get fired, and you at least survived it.
Yeah, I did. Like, I think that Bill probably seen a little bit in there, and he probably wanted to see a bit more of me. And unfortunately, I just didn't give him that extra bit.
A few of the people, when we talked to them, said that you were more conscious of the cameras being on you.
In front of the cameras, I was just very concerned about maybe trying to slate. I didn't want to slate on me. I was very diplomatic, maybe a roundabout way of getting my point across, and that could come across maybe nervous, especially in these interviews going in. You know, they're not the interviews from, you know, tell me your strengths, tell me your weaknesses, Will. You know, it's really like, no, listen, you're wrong, and I'm right, you know, especially with Mr. Duffy there. He's unreal.
And was it tough being the youngest? Because you were the youngest candidate. What are you, you're now 22?
Yeah, 22, yeah. Like, I've been working since I was 17. I was the youngest, but by all means, I had a bit of experience behind me, so I was glad in that regard to get as far as I got.
Let's go to your biggest fan first of all. Brian, is he right? Should he have gone tonight?
I think, looking at the show, I think it probably was the right decision.
Yeah.
I don't believe you were as confident and as driven as the other candidates that are left. I think you lacked also experience and potentially maybe a little bit immature. I think he'd said during one interview, I want to turn this place up. It's like, it's not Ibiza. Calm down. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But I still love you. You should know this.
Cheers, Brian. Thanks.
Well, Mairead, you were very critical because you said that it was one of the worst CVs you'd seen.
by a mile. It was pretty horrendous, yes. However, can I say, since then, Will and I have spent some time working on his CV.
What?
Yes, you're jealous, aren't you?
Great.
There's still a bit to do, Brian, still, so you can...
But to be fair to Will, he came in, we went through the CV, I gave him his homework, and he went away, and he's produced a fantastic document now. But that CV was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It really was.
And was it purely the interviews, do you think, Shane, that ultimately saw Will leave, or was this the culmination of his recent performances?
I thought he came over as easily the nicest of the candidates. The guy you'd like to spend more time with, who'd be more pleasant. And that was partly because of your youth. You're younger than them. And one of the things that came through was, yeah, he wasn't as hardened. You were not as battle-hardened as particularly the two girls who went through, who were very battle-hardened indeed. And the other thing that I thought was maybe stood against you in a way, you seem to have almost to idolise Bill Cullen, right? Yeah. Now, I didn't know whether that was genuine or whether it was, or whether it's actually put on for the cameras. Maybe you could help us.
No, I do look up to Bill quite a lot. You know, I know a couple of the other candidates had a few run-ins with him, but I did look up to him. You know, as I said before, like my grandfather actually came from a similar area. He went up through the ranks as well, just like Bill did, and that's a bit of the relationship there. I suppose I could relate to Bill. You know, and
was that before the programme, or did that start when you got into the programme?
No, I'd read his books before, so even before the programme had started.
Would you think of being a bit nastier in the next interview you do? You know?
Yeah, like I've been very loyal to the company I was with in Bank of Scotland. You know, I'd been with them for nearly 5 years, so I'd never really, I'd never really gone for an external interview, or even looked at my CV. Really, I suppose I should have probably looked at it a bit more by sending it in, but now it's tip-top shape now, you know.
But did you have to throw the job in to do this? Did you have to quit the job?
No, unfortunately, the way the economy was and the financial services sector, we were let go.
You're currently looking for work then?
Yeah, currently, yeah.
Well, let's remind ourselves, both for you here and for you at home, where it may have gone wrong for Will.
So what are the drawbacks that have been pointed out to you?
I suppose one of them, you know, communication, you know.
So have you sorted out your communication skills deficit?
Yeah, it was probably...
Brian, is Will a good communicator?
Will has a little difficulty in communicating in a concise manner, Bill.
I don't think I have a problem with communication. I think maybe everybody communicates differently. I think that I do get the point across, but maybe it takes a little bit longer than in how I describe it, you know. Hello, Kim. Basically, are you out of work? Yes.
Going to be saying it.
Are you out of work yet?
Yes, it is an issue that sometimes phone calls can kind of drag on, and I hope I don't seem too blunt when I'm like, right, okay, next.
In the focus group, they were saying, like, the thing is, when you talk to your mates, you don't really pay attention to the ads. And they were saying that something that strikes them is, like, you're in there having your popcorn, chatting to your mates, and only one that did stand there.
Yeah, okay, Will, are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Okay, ask me the question in one sentence.
I just think that Will needs to kind of just curtail the amount of words he uses to get to the point quicker.
Would you be aware that you say you know a lot?
I wouldn't say I know everything, you know.
No, you say the term, you know a lot.
I wouldn't be aware of it, you know that, but that's, you know, again, there you go.
Okay, you're a man of buzzwords, I think. Just looking at your
I would think Bill is as well.
Here. Well, we're talking about you here.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay, so if we can focus on you, that would be very helpful.
No
Will has this ability to be able to get people to do things for him. You know, I think he's smart in that sense. His communication skills let him down a little bit.
That's me, yeah.
Well, did it make it harder for you going into the interview? Because other candidates had other things they'd be criticised for, but you'd had a series of weeks where you're told communication skills is the problem, and now you know you're doing 4 interviews that are going to hinge on your communication skills.
Well, do you want the 20-word answer or the 5-word answer?
One sentence. Go on.
No, people had mentioned it to me, and I think it got to me because I don't like to be criticised, you know, and people maybe had said it to me in a nice way, kind of saying, listen, Will, just maybe try to be a bit better in front of the cameras when you're doing your interviews or speaking to anybody on the telephone or anything like that. And I really didn't take it on board, and it really got to me then, and I was always thinking of, and then I got myself in a whole mix-up then, really, because it was at the back of my head, make sure you're good going into these interviews and make sure you're communicating well, and then it
and just all got it
exactly, and then it just gone over and over in my mind, and then, sure, it went to hell then when I went into the interviews, you know.
Well, one of the people who interviewed you is here. He's David Block, who is the Chief Executive, Managing Director of Brightwater Recruitment. David, Will survived 12 very hard weeks. Why no further?
I think he survived that long because he's a great salesman. and he's a nice guy, and people like and trust Will. And I really enjoyed meeting him, probably more than any other candidates, to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, to get the job, you needed a bit more. And there were a couple of things that you lacked. I think eloquence, we've said, decisiveness, and sometimes being a little, dare I say, aggressive and nasty. You were kind of sitting there talking to me, whereas you weren't there saying, I didn't feel it, that force. You're maybe too nice. And as you get older in business, you might have to learn to be a little tougher.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Thank you, David. Is that something that you would agree with, Will? Do you
Yeah,
think you're too
definitely.
soft?
Like as Bill said, you know, maybe in a couple of years' time I might have what it takes, but definitely take on points on board from what David's saying there. Yeah.
Well, either way, whether too nice or not, you have been a hell of a candidate for you and for everybody here.
Yeah.
These are Will's highlights.
Will, you have the likability factor. You're a very good salesman, and I certainly believe that you have the potential.
Could you be a teenage idol?
Will, he's the pretty boy of our group, you know, good-looking fella.
I sent Bill in a Lucasade Sport bottle along with a message with my application, just basically saying that, Bill, you know, the Apprentice is a marathon, not a sprint, and I'm 100% pre-hydrated.
You could, I suppose, somehow have guys running with, let's say, a water cooler under his arm.
Isn't it better if he walks by slick as a cucumber, like, you know?
George flag up there, I love it.
Yeah, Italian flag even.
A bit blonde moment.
Seriously, today is not my day.
Will is calling this a vinyl. It is quite tough, and that's what we're in here for, and that's what we signed up, you know.
But could we see maybe your abs?
That's fair, that's all, yeah.
I've had bad comments, and I've been kicking myself because I know I can do it. It's very frustrating, you know, because myself and Jamie are the only ones that maybe are the definite creative heads.
It's the worst baby ever.
This happens to be prawn linguine, which the lads seem to be dishing out with great difficulty, but they're doing a fine job.
Jackie, what did you say they were like?
Bert and Ernie.
Come here to me. We're only after getting those 6 images now.
Got a calendar for 11 months, so we've ultimately lost this task. Initially when I seen Bill, I got the shock of my life, being honest with you. Definitely think that I've got an eye for making money, and that's my feather in the cap, as the old saying says.
And Will, I'm sure, was impressive, as usual.
It was, Bill. I had to nip her at the post, but she done very well.
Today is just about shaking the trees and getting the word out.
I don't think they've found the trees, no.
Are you having a laugh? I just have to come over from a winning team. Put me back. Oh, Jesus.
By the way...
There's so much there, come on.
Oh, no, on a side issue. Have women just been flinging themselves at you for the last couple of weeks?
Surprisingly not, no. Like,
oh, come on.
No, Jesus, like, I've got 4 women in my family, you know, and that's all I can handle at the moment, you know.
Yeah,
so we'll
right.
see.
You're telling me no women have been coming up to you going, oh, I've seen you, I think you're gorgeous.
No, they're coming up to me and saying you've done well, you know, that's about it.
They've been assessing your performance. Will, it has been a pleasure having you on the programme.
Likewise.
Ladies and gentlemen,
thanks very much.
Will McCreevy, and Will, you'll come back for part 3?
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thanks.
You only need to wait for another about 3 minutes to meet the most famous Greek in Ireland. Back in 3. Well, you're welcome back to You're Fired. Tonight, it's a 2-for-1 deal, because first Will heard those fateful words, and then Panos.
So you're both credible candidates, and it's not an easy decision. And this episode in your life will give you a new focus on the future. But unfortunately, it won't be with me in the Glencullen Group. Panos, you're fired.
Thank you very much
The
for
best
the
of luck.
opportunity. Brian, Jackie, it was an honour.
Thank you, Panos.
Best of luck, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Panos Zambatakis. Hi, Panos. How are you? Oh, have a seat. Panos, did you have a sense in the boardroom that you were going to follow Will?
Oh, I knew it. Yeah, definitely I knew it.
Why?
Because
As soon as Bill gives you a compliment, you know that it's coming. I think I was the first one to turn around as soon as Will walked out and said, "Oh, Panos, you have an impeccable CV." And I was like, "Okay, shall I go now?" So
And did you think it was fair?
I was up against really tough competition, and fair play to both of the girls. They're brilliant.
Well, when Will got fired, it was great news for Brian because he got to actually meet him. There is a person here who is hugely depressed at your
Slightly
departure,
offended.
who is the president of your fan club, Mairead Fleming. Mairead, you were part of the interview panel. Why didn't you step in and do a big pitch to save your favourite?
Well, at the end of the day, you know, I'm going on his CV and the facts that are presented to us. Now, it's only subsequently I've gotten to know Panos and have gotten to kind of really admire him and respect him. But he'd left